Well, I'll start off with saying I actually remember, and we were kind of talking about it before we got started here. I remember watching the teams that you played on, and like it was just such high level basketball because that was kind of when I was in like sixth grade, seventh grade, like in that time period when you played on some really special teams, and you'd go to those games, and it was, I mean, you said it right before we started, like the walls would sweat in some of the playoff games, and there was just an intensity that, like there's this thing is layered, right? Like you can't get to Duke in fifth grade, sixth grade. And so that kind of became my goal of like, oh, I want to be a high school player, and this seemed fun. Now, I mentioned that my dad was in professional sports, and I think that one of the greatest gifts he ever gave me is he was very realistic with me. My mom and him were both big time supporters and cheerleaders for me, but I think he always knew what it looked like, and kind of what I looked like, so to speak, and not, I don't think it matched at Duke, and so it kind of just became about being the best I could be. But when I got to Jesuit in 2003, I played soccer, baseball, and basketball, and then it kind of just dwindled to baseball and basketball. And then after my sophomore year, I got to play varsity, and we were just okay. But I was very like I got my feet wet, of like high level basketball. And I kind of just said, okay, well, like if this is what I want to do, I'm not good right now, and I need to get a lot better. Um, and so that was, I would say, kind of my sophomore year is when the spark really went off of like, I need to work more. You said my game was not super pleasant for the eyes, so to speak, like yours was with that 6'7" lefty stroke. Like I did not check a lot of those boxes. And so I think knowing the game and like understanding how to impact winning without putting the ball through the basket kind of became my thing. And I started to work really hard during my time at Jesuit. And I was so fortunate to play with guys who were very good. We didn't have anybody ended up playing Division I, but we had Chris Bleaves, who was All-American 3 years at Claremont McKenna. Rod Hawkins, I was lucky enough to play with at Chico State. And then we had other guys that complemented how I played in terms of trying to run the team and be a leader on the court very well, which allowed us to have a lot of success. And those years at Jesuit, basketball-wise, were some of the greatest of my life. We played on some really successful teams, and I was just really fortunate to be a part of it.
Yeah, well, you set the standard early on with winning, and it's funny you mentioned, like we were talking before the show. I mean, I think watching those that come before you at programs does, create the inspiration. And I wonder a little of kind of the way the game is consumed today. It's changed so much, but I grew up watching my dad referee, watching Ben Ammerman and Chris Griffin and Isaac Fontaine and J.J. Polk and, kind of on and on at Jesuit as well before, getting to play there. And then kind of the aspiration to be successful in that environment certainly is, like you said, the steps.